Hi everyone, my name is Lynn Madden and I'm a One Mind Dog instructor from Australia. So at the moment it's winter time in Australia, so my voice is a little scratchy, so hopefully it lasts the evening. So welcome to the webinar, and I'm a One Mind Dog instructor that lives in rural Australia. So this is a topic, the 5 ways to make backyard training more powerful, is a topic that's really dear to my heart because I live in a remote area where I have done most of my training online, and most of my training has happened in my own backyard. So I know that there is restrictions to it, but I also now know the power behind having training in your own backyard. For those of you that are new, the One Mind Dog system is a method of training where we look at the dog's perspective for what they're telling us and how they need us to communicate. So our goal is to teach the humans and the human partnership in the team to be able to understand how the dog learns and understand things from the dog's perspective, so that when we are communicating with our own dogs, it becomes much easier and the teamwork really becomes that two souls, one mind type thing. So that is the philosophy behind the One Mind Dogs method. And now if we have a look at the topic we're going to cover tonight, which is the 5 ways to make backyard training more powerful, the topics we're going to cover in that are making the most of what area that you do have in your own backyard, the skills that are suitable for backyard training, thinking about making your training like you trial, also either or training, and then taking it on the road. So these are the 5 things that are going to make your backyard training more powerful. So if we look at the first one, which is making the most of what you have. Now, we all have different sizes of backyards. Some of us have really nice big backyards and some of us have really small backyards. So this is one of my students here in Australia. This is Katie Letts in Melbourne, and she has a reasonable sized backyard here, but she makes the most of it with what she has by using small setups that fit her area here. Now, I've got a couple of videos to show you. So the first video is of Georgia here in Australia. Now, she has a tiny backyard, so she has managed to do most of her training in this little tiny backyard. So you can see she's got enough for a tunnel and 2 jumps. And so she's practicing here her front cross technique training, and you can see her front cross technique is beautiful, and she's done all of this training in her own small backyard. And we have another person here in Australia, Lauren in Melbourne, and she has a very tiny backyard, and she has managed to set this little course up where she gets to train a lot of different techniques. You can see here's a front cross, sending to the tunnel, another front cross to a backside send to a front cross. So you can see she's really managing to get a lot of training in a very small area. Now, yes, the distances between the obstacles here aren't huge, but at this point in time, she's practicing the actual techniques that she's trying to use. And then when she can get more area later, she has the techniques down pat so that she can then take it and increase the speed and increase the drive in the dog on a bigger area. But at least here she can see she's training a few different techniques, excuse me, so that when she gets a chance to have a bigger area, she knows that she can perform these techniques, and it makes it easier for her training later on. So that's the whole idea about making the most of the backyard that you have. And in the follow-up emails, we'll go a bit more in depth into some of the things on our website that you can focus on to do the training in whatever size backyard you have. So you can let us know what sort of size you have, and we can direct you to examples of things you can do your training on that will help you in your own backyard. So if we go back to our slides. Next we have focusing on the skills suitable for the backyard. Now, the backyard is not really the place for you to train full course running. unless you have a beautiful big backyard that you can fit a heap of equipment in and set up 20 obstacles, most of you will only get the chance to have maybe a tunnel and a few jumps. So thinking about the skills that you need to refine, that you can do in your backyard, that can refine your training. So these will be things like our technique training, contact training, weave training. And if you focus on these skills now, you can get the most out of your training, so that when you do, again, have those bigger areas to access, you have already worked out how to refine your skills. So you've trained your front cross, you've trained your backside send, you've trained your blind cross, all the different techniques that you can get done in your backyard, you've perfected them. And so one of the things we have on the One Line Dog website is our guided courses. And these are where you are able to follow along with a training plan of one of our coaches and send in videos for review, and you get some feedback on the things that you are training. One of these that's running at the moment is Stephanie's 10 techniques on one jump. Perfect for the backyard. You only need one jump, and you get plenty of advice on how to refine those techniques. So we're just going to play a little video here. So this is a little snippet from Stephanie's guided course.
But when your eyes are there, then you really don't see the commitment until the dog gets there. And that's part of what makes it actually harder to get around the wing there. Once you see the commitment, that you take this foot and turn it so that it begins to go this way, and then see that this foot, maybe it just follows it.
Is a ginormous, massive improvement over what you were doing. So you're able to really now teach your feet to just only move forward. So you're no longer moving backward, you're no longer doing the sidestep thing, it's just that you have that happening. So next step will be to refine what you do with your upper body. But
so as you can see there with the guided courses, you get amazing feedback. So it's like having a personal trainer in your back pocket. It's like having a coach in your back pocket in the backyard. And that 10 techniques on one jump, you can see that it was all done on one obstacle. So it can fit in most backyards. So it's a really good way to practice backyard training in a small environment and get the feedback that you need to perfect those techniques. If we move on to the next part, it's a really important part of backyard training, and it's training like your trial. Now, most of us, when we're training in the backyard, can sometimes forget about the things that we need to for when we want to compete with our dogs. So when we're training in our backyard, our dogs are nice and happy, they're comfortable in that environment, and we also tend to get a little bit relaxed in our own training. So we don't set things up like it would be if we were hiring an arena or hiring a ground. So things to remember are like doing your distraction training, exposure to seesaw bangs, the crowd noise and clapping, the game noises for snooker and gamblers such as beeps and whistles, car noises, car doors slamming, dogs barking, judges and helpers in the ring, so ring stewards, food packets crinkling, squeaky toys, people playing tug outside the ring. These are all things that we tend to forget about when we're training in our own backyard and are really, really important to have as part of our training program. So if we have a look at some of the things that we can do to train for noises in particular. So you can see here, we're making some banging noises and just working, not even working on any agility training, but working on them to help us focus while these things happen. again, don't be afraid to look a little silly in your own backyard and doing these things. My neighbours sometimes think I'm a little bit crazy with some of the things that I do in my backyard. The other thing I want you guys to think about in your backyard are the routines you have when you get to a trial. Now, we're going to go in depth into this in our follow-up emails, particularly because I have a story with my dog Stormy where she used to be really nervous at competitions. And that's because I did most of our training in the backyard without thinking about these things. So I want you to think about what you're doing outside the ring, what you're doing with your lead, how you're setting up for the start line, and how you're getting back to your rewards at a competition. And I want you to know what you're going to do at competition so that when it comes to training, you can start doing them in your training routines so that when it comes to competition time, your dog understands that this is what happens when we go to do work, when there's no reinforcement. Because what we tend to do a little bit at our home training in our backyard is always have food or toys on us, so that we're rewarding our dog instantly. But they also have to learn that they need to do sort of 15 to 20 obstacles before they actually get reinforcement. So we need to practice that at home in our own backyard so that when it comes time for competition, they understand that there's a ring routine. And, excuse me, it makes it less scary for them when it goes to competition time. So this will be a video coming up of my dog Stormy. Now, this was before COVID when we used to hand leads off to the steward. That doesn't happen anymore. We now put them around our body. So just remember, different competition environments and different situations will require you to have a different procedure. So just know in your area what you need to do and practice it at home.
Look at the Lolas. Oh, you're so smart. Such a smart girl. Such a smart girl. You might do that one more time.
So you can see I'm leaving her rewards outside the area of practice and taking her to the start line. Doing what I would normally do to set up for a competition. Handing my lead off to the steward, which we don't do now. I just tie it around my waist. Then we do our small little sequence. And then she goes back to her lead. So at the moment, after that last jump, I would take my lead from around my waist and put it on her. Then in Australia, you're allowed to tug with your lead on the way out, and then we go to our reward system. And so once I showed her how that works, she was able to do that at competitions more regularly because she understood that that's what happens. I don't have my food on me. I don't have rewards on me. That if you do this little stuff, we will always go back to the rewards. So it's a really important part to make sure that you're covering in your backyard training to ensure that the dogs are understanding when they get to competition what's happening. Next in our backyard training is either or training. Now, this is a really powerful tool if we understand how to use it right. So there are two ways to do the either or training in your backyard. The first is to run the same sequence, testing different handling options. And if any of you did my guided course on choosing and applying handling techniques, this is what we did in there. I'm just going to show you a clip of that, and you can see it's a small setup and we do lots of different handling on the same setup so that you start to learn what works best for you and your team. And this is a really good one to time your handling choices on because it's the same sequence, but you're doing different options. So you might be wrapping, you might be slicing, you might be doing whatever tools in your toolbox. And so then you'll start to learn what works for you and your team best. Now, the next option without either or training is to be able to set up a sequence and then test your dog's ability to follow your handling. So in doing that, it means we do different handling options and different courses on that one setup. So that the first time they might do a sequence one way and then they might do something completely different. And so it tests whether the dog is following your handling or looking at sort of patterning on the same sequence if you're trying to do the same thing over and over again. So if you then switch it up and do some either or, it can really test that your dog is learning the skills that you want them to. We have a handling technique test on the website, which is a really fun option to do. And I've got a video here of Stormy and I trying out this map. So in the emails, in the follow-up emails, I will be posting a copy of this map so you can have a go at these yourselves. So you can see it's a relatively small setup, but each time we do a different sequence. So as I said, we're going to put a map in the follow-up emails for those. And we would really love to see you having a go at those techniques and the handling techniques test. And we'd love to see you posting that on social media and letting us know how you get on with it. So the last thing with the training in the backyard is that you do have to eventually take it on the road. There's only so much you can do in the backyard because we only have so much space. So once you've perfected your techniques in the backyard and the dog has a really good understanding of what you're asking for them on small sequences and small setups, it's time to take it on the road. And in doing that, there are lots of ways you can do. You can have a look at the facilities around you. So training facilities that you can hire, training halls, arenas, that type of thing. If you don't have access to those, have a look at what's available in your local community. Things like the local park, the local school grounds, if you're allowed in there, visiting other people's houses if they have a bigger yard. You can hire football fields, maybe for an hour or two, if you have a group of people that are prepared to get together and do that. And also, if you can get together with friends, either at the local park or something like that, then it helps increase the amount of equipment you can have. So if everybody brings a couple of jumps, it really expands the amount of equipment that you have available to do your training. And if you don't have a heap of equipment or you don't want to buy a heap of equipment, you can get creative. I have, in my last guided course, it was the middle of winter in America and Europe. And so one of my students, we had two ladies and their dog Tucker that they share, and they took their training on the road into a local car park where there was no snow, and they used their equipment that they had made up and did the best they did with the things that they had available. So the other thing I want to talk about is the idea that champions are made in the backyard. You don't need the access to big areas. You don't need the access to big facilities and all the equipment to do the type of training you need to do to build the skills you and your dog need to become champions. So don't feel that just because you don't have access to all the materials, all the equipment and all the spaces, that you can't do well and increase your skills. So the idea is do the training that you need to do and keeping it simple in the backyard and making the champions that you are and having it happen in the backyard so that everybody sitting at home watching tonight can imagine their own backyard and decide that they can become the champions that they want to be from that space. Now, I'm just going to share a little video here where we have a look at some of the things that you can do on our website that is all about backyard training. And this takes you on a little tour of the website so that you can see what's available with the premium subscription for your training in the backyard. And this is just a small glimpse of what you can do. Here is a sneak peek into the One Mind Dog Premium website. I just wanted to show you the things that you can use in here for your backyard training. So if we go into our Start Training section, we have things like our foundation for agility, which you can all do in your own backyard, handling techniques, and International Training Week. But I wanted to show you this session down here. So you can choose a theme. And so if we put in backyard training, and there's this course here in our mini courses called backyard size courses. So if you click on that, you can see there is 39 different lessons in here. And there is so much you can see and do in amongst here. So if we look at just one, let's have a look at following the handling, course 1. So you can see here, you get a little map. It's a really small course that most people can fit in their backyards, and it gives you different handling techniques to apply. So it's a really great way to do your training. There's lots of information there, and there's also some videos to show you how to do the course that we've set, and ways that you can get inspiration for your own training in the backyard. And so, as I said, there's 39 of these in here, and that's just in our backyard size courses. If you go into lots of the other courses in here, there'll be plenty of material that you can train in the backyard. So if you have a look at all these collections of our mini courses, there's so much you can see and do in here that you can train in your own backyard. So always think that there's plenty of options to do your training in the backyard, and we have lots of maps and videos for you to test out your training in your own backyard. So if you've got any questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask us, and we'd be happy to help you out. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you guys about tonight is the new guided course that we have coming up. So I'm actually going to be doing a guided course on advanced skills in the backyard. So it's going to be starting in the 1st of July, and it's going to take you through some advanced backyard skills that you can train at home. And I have a little preview video of that will play now, so that you can have a look at what that is going to be. So that's just a little snippet of what's going to happen in the guided course. And again, in the emails that'll be going out with the follow-up emails, you'll be able to sign up for that. And it should also be on the social media, how to sign up for the guided course. It's part of our premium subscription. So don't get freaked out by what you just saw in that video, because Tulia and Timo are very, very amazing handlers, and they make it look easy. But that's what I'll be there for. So you can attempt these things in your own backyard, and you get the feedback from me on how we can refine the different techniques that you're going to use there and refine your handling so that what you're training in the backyard is going to translate onto the competition course. And so that is where we finish up tonight. But I want you to take away the idea that champions are made in the backyard. Don't be scared of the fact that you do most of your training either alone or in your own backyard, because that's how a lot of us have done most of our training. And you can get a heap done in the backyard if you get a little bit creative and understand what skills to work on to do in your backyard that you can then take out either into the competition environment or when you're training on the bigger arenas. So thank you so much for coming tonight. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know and I will answer them in an email as a follow-up email. But it was lovely to have you tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all in the guided course.